For May 2015, this is CTA News and Review. Mayor Rahm Emanuel named Dorval R. Carter Jr. as the new president of the Chicago Transit Authority. Carter, who has more than 30 years of experience in public transit at both the city and federal levels, joins the CTA from the U.S. Department of Transportation in Washington, D.C., where he most recently served as acting chief of staff to Secretary Anthony Foxx. Carter becomes the first African-American president of the CTA since the agency's inception in 1947. He served the CTA from 2000 to 2009, where he held a variety of posts, culminating in Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer. Before joining CTA in 2000, Carter spent 10 years at the FTA, where he was Assistant Chief Counsel for Legislation and Regulation and managed the office responsible for planning, directing, and supporting the administration's legislative and regulatory programs. CTA officials unveiled a new technology designed to provide more consistent and reliable bus service. The technology, known as Bus Transit Management System, or BTMS, provides real-time monitoring of bus movements and modern real-time communications between bus drivers and CTA's control center. The system will allow buses to more quickly adapt to changing traffic and street conditions and help avoid the two biggest challenges facing bus service: bus bunching and long waits between buses. Testing on buses at two Southside CTA garages that initially received the new system has shown notable improvements to bus service. Since January 2015, significant bus gaps on 9 of the busiest Southside bus routes have dropped an average of nearly 40%. By late summer, all of CTA's approximately 1,800 buses will be equipped with this new technology. CTA, Metra, and PACE have announced plans to partner with a local group that has extensive experience in testing new apps to expand testing of the new mobile Ventra app. The Smart Chicago Collaborative Civic User Testing Group, or CUT, is a highly regarded program that maintains a pool of Chicago residents to road test new apps under development. This testing will complement the rigorous testing already underway and provide customers with a Ventra mobile app that provides a seamless, enjoyable one-stop shopping experience that essentially puts a Ventra vending machine in their pockets. A pool of testers will use the app in real life to buy fares and manage their accounts by smartphone, providing valuable feedback to CTA, Metra, and PACE ahead of beginning the first, larger group of public testing. The app is expected to launch this fall. In an effort to promote more courteous behavior among its customers, the CTA launched an informational campaign designed to promote consideration and discussion of the best ways to be courteous and considerate to fellow riders. The campaign, featuring a series of messages that have been placed on buses and trains, reflects some of the most commonly heard complaints from riders about the behaviors of fellow public transit passengers, not only on the CTA, but on transit systems throughout the world. The courtesy campaign messages cover a wide range of discourteous passenger behaviors, from littering and eating on trains to not using all available doors on an arriving train. CTA used feedback from social media, calls and emails to CTA customer service, and observations of CTA personnel to develop the courtesy campaign subject matters. The campaign, developed in-house by CTA staff, is the latest effort by the CTA to improve customer communications and passenger comfort. Among other efforts since 2011, the CTA has expanded digital information screens with bus and train service information, launched a rail safety reminder campaign, and created the Renew Crew program to bring long overdue improvements to 100 rail stations. The CTA is moving forward with its Red and Purple Modernization Program, or RPM, a transformational, multi-phase program to completely rebuild the northern sections of the Red and Purple lines and provide CTA with the ability to add trains to meet the demands of growing ridership on its busiest rail line. This project would allow the CTA to add trains to meet current and future ridership needs. The strain on capacity is already evidenced by the daily train delays as trains have to stop and wait for others to cross the junction just north of Belmont Station, which has a ripple effect on service throughout the CTA rail system. As part of the federal environmental review process for RPM, the CTA published the second of 2 federal documents, called environmental assessments. These documents are an important step in the process of informing the public and gathering feedback about this critical project. The current inefficient rail junction was built in 1907 and was never intended to connect 3 rail lines. The CTA is now at capacity in these rail lines because of the junction, meaning it can no longer add more trains to alleviate current overcrowding and meet future ridership growth. According to the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, 185,000 new residents are projected to move into Red and Brown Line service areas by 2040. To meet future demand, the CTA needs to increase service in this corridor to serve more riders during rush periods. But with current infrastructure constraints, it has already reached capacity. If nothing is done, CTA will be unable to add more trains to accommodate more riders. CTA estimates that by building a bypass, it would be able to add up to 8 more trains per hour during rush hour immediately on the Red Line alone, and ultimately serve an additional 7,200 passengers per hour on all 3 rail lines. As part of the first phase of the Red and Purple Modernization Program, the CT held a public hearing on May 14th for the proposed reconstruction of 4 stations and more than a mile of track infrastructure at Lawrence, Argyle, Berwyn, and Bryn Mawr on the Red Line. The hearing, held at the Broadway Armory, was well attended by neighborhood residents, who also provided formal project comment and asked questions about the proposed new stations that will be modern, more comfortable, and have elevators to make them fully accessible to customers. They also learned about proposed elevated track infrastructure reconstruction that would increase service reliability and speeds. The CTA will now seek FTA approval for both the proposed bypass project near Belmont and the station and track reconstruction between Lawrence and Bryn Mawr. For all your breaking CTA news, go to transitchicago.com/news and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.